This is the scary story about the school trip.
An entire class of 6th graders went on a school trip one day. Everybody was taking pictures with their phones and cameras and having such a great time. But when they all got back to school, they started looking through all the photos they took, when suddenly one of the girls screamed, "Oh my god, what is that?" In the picture, one of the boys in the class was sitting on the bus, and nothing seemed strange about the photo until you looked at his reflection in the window. His face in the reflection looked like it was yellow and bulging, and completely mutating. Also, there was a white floating figure behind him in the reflection. Everybody turned the photo upside down and realized it was a human skull, and it was horrific. And when the boy saw the photo of himself, he immediately burst into tears and had a panic attack. The teacher then took the boy to the nurse's office, and the principal banned everybody from speaking about the strange photo ever again. And to make this even scarier, 7 days later, the boy died from a brain tumor. The photo is said to be on the internet somewhere, but I don't recommend looking for it.
Dirty facts about history that school probably didn't teach you. In the 1400s, prostitutes wore wigs on their lady parts with fake pubic hair to prevent lice and cover up any syphilis sores before doing the dirty. An intern at NASA once stole a safe full of moon rocks, sprinkled them on a hotel bed, and proceeded to have sex with his girlfriend on top of them. Man was sentenced to 8 years in federal prison for getting his rocks off. Raphael, the Italian Renaissance artist, not the Ninja Turtle, died of exhaustion from non-stop sex. In other words, he boned till he croaked. A common hairstyle in 17th century Europe was the Polish plait. A gross, smelly mass of crusty, matted hair cemented together by pus, nits, and dirt. The hairstyle was believed to have healing properties and could supposedly protect people from illnesses. During the Iron Age in Ireland, a new king would be crowned in a ceremony in which he penetrated a horse in front of an audience. The horse would then be eaten for dinner by everyone who just witnessed them doing the dirty.
5 facts about the human body you didn't know. Your nose can recognize over 50,000 different smells. And whenever you smell something, you never forget it. Next, did you know it's impossible to tickle yourself? Go ahead, try it. Moving on, your brain uses around 20% of the oxygen you breathe. Meaning, if you don't get enough oxygen to your brain, there's a high chance you could get brain damage. And did you know the human heart actually beats over 100,000 times a day? I just find it so crazy. But what I find crazier is that you're taller in the morning than you are at night. So if you need to measure yourself no matter where, do it in the morning.
Dirty facts about history that school probably didn't teach you, Part 10. In a battle between Egypt and Libya in 1182 BC, the commander of the Egyptian army ordered the pee-pees to be cut off the Libyan soldiers as proof of their defeat. Over 25,000 pee-pees of Libyan soldiers were collected. A famous ancient Greek doctor named Hippocrates would often taste his patients to diagnose them. And what would he taste, you may ask? Anything from earwax, urine, and even vaginas to diagnose people. In medieval England, royal newlyweds had to have sex in front of all their family members and the entire royal court just to prove that their child was of royal blood. In ancient New Zealand, warriors performed a dance before battle called haka, and they were required to have a full erection while dancing in order to intimidate their enemies. Let's just say their enemies knew exactly what was coming.
Something scary happened when this father was filming his son playing Fortnite. As you can see, the son is playing Fortnite. His stuffed animal moves by itself. Now at first, they didn't believe this until they rewatched the video. Supposedly you can see if an app is spying on you by clicking the share button, clicking more, and if you see an app that you don't recognize in front of your contacts, delete it immediately. But that's not everything that happened in that house. You see, a few moments later, a figure revealed itself in the father's house. Yeah, I would move at that point. Did you know that TikTok has a secret emoji? Just type the word sulk, lowercase with the bars around it like this, to unlock it. Let me see if you can do it down below. What if you woke up to your mom doing this?
Mom? These are 8 horrifying facts that will probably keep you up at night. Number 1. Your ears never stop growing. They get bigger and bigger the more you age. Number 2. During a person's lifetime, on average, a person spends 1 whole year sitting on the toilet. Number 3. In 1977, we received an audio signal from space that was 42 seconds long. To this day, we don't know where this audio signal came from. Number 4. Raining animals. Throughout history, there have been documented instances of animal rain, a phenomenon where frogs, fish, and even spiders are swept up in waterspouts and then fall from the sky with raindrops. Number 5. The zone of silence is an area in Mexico where radio signals and any type of communication cannot be received or sent. Number 6. The boiling river. In the heart of the Peruvian Amazon lies a river so hot that it boils. The Shanay Timpishka River. It reaches temperatures up to 93 degrees Celsius or 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Number 7. The sleeping city of Kalachi. Residents of Kalachi, Kazakhstan, have been plagued by a mysterious condition that causes people to fall asleep for several days, often waking up with no memory of the episode. Investigations suggest that elevated levels of carbon monoxide and hydrocarbons due to uranium mines might be the cause, though no definite explanation has been established. Number 8. The Voynich Manuscript. This mysterious book dates back to the 15th century. It is filled with writings of an unknown language or code and detailed illustrations of non-existent plants, astronomical diagrams, and strange human-like figures in bizarre contexts. Despite efforts of cryptographers and scholars, no one was able to solve these codes. We don't know what the book says. We don't know who wrote it.
3 disturbing facts about historical figures that school kept from you. The third one is shocking. Number 3. Charlie Chaplin met his future wife when she was 12, and he was 31. They first crossed paths on the set of the movie The Kid in 1920. 4 years later, due to Lita Gray's pregnancy, they got married when she was only 16 years old. Their turbulent union eventually resulted in one of the most expensive divorces of their time. Number 2. Steve Jobs denied his daughter was his and fought against paying child support even after paternity tests proved he was the father. Lisa Brennan Jobs was born in 1978. At the time, Jobs denied his paternity despite the evidence, even claiming to be sterile. He also tried to avoid paying child support, leading to a lengthy legal battle. Number 1. Mother Teresa encouraged sick patients to suffer but went straight to the hospital when she was ill. She is regarded by many as a saint for her dedication to helping the poor and sick in India. She believed suffering was a gift from God and encouraged her patients to accept it as a way to get closer to Jesus. However, when she herself fell ill with heart problems, she chose to get treated in modern hospitals.
The pictures showing what Ruby Franke's children went through at Jody Hildebrand's home have been released. I'm not going to show you all of the pictures, especially not the pictures that were released of the children's wounds, but I will show you some of the items that were found in Jody Hildebrand's home, as well as the duct tape that was around RF's ankles and wrists before it was removed. Ruby Franke's son had basically been hogtied on the floor at Jody Hildebrand's home. They had used handcuffs to do that, and this is a picture of the handcuffs being collected from Jody's home. They found several different types of rope. This is some that was found in a drawer at the home, and this is some more rope that was found. Now you'll notice beside it is a container of reddish looking fluid. It had been determined that this was the mixture, the homeopathic mixture that Jody and Ruby had been smearing on their open wounds. This is actually cayenne pepper and honey. This is a picture of Ruby Franke's son's wrists the day that he had gone to the neighbor's home looking for help. The shirt he is wearing went down over his wrist, so they didn't see this until they pulled the sleeves up. Now, what you're looking at right now is saran wrap wrapped around his wrists and then duct tape over it. And the paramedics said that the saran wrap was trying to protect his wounds before they put the duct tape over it, and then they would put the ropes or the handcuffs on top of the duct tape. And this is what his poor little ankles look like. Now, this allegedly is not blood. It's the cayenne pepper and honey mix that they had smeared all over his cuts along his ankles. Then they put the saran wrap on top as well as the duct tape. Now, you can see how dirty his feet actually were. He was wearing little socks when he arrived at this home. So this is just from him not being clean or bathed in however many days. After Russell escaped from Jody Hildebrand's home and went to the neighbor's house, he alerted police that his sister was still in Jody Hildebrand's home. When police arrived at the home, they found Ruby Franke's daughter in an empty closet. She was absolutely traumatized and refused to leave the room, so police and paramedics gave her the time she needed. It took them 4 hours to convince her that it was safe to leave this closet. I honestly don't know how much longer these two children could have survived in the conditions they had been living in if this young boy did not have the courage enough to escape Jody Hildebrand's house and go to the neighbors and ask for help.
This is a true horrifying story that took place on Ras Al Khaimah, the United Arab Emirates. This story was so mysterious that government authorities of Ras Al Khaimah had to get involved. In 2018, an Emirati named Adel al-Zaabi was out with his friends all night. He was 22 back at the time. He was going out every single night. Comes back home very late in the morning and barely used to see his family. His mother calls him one night, worried about where he's been all these days. She tells him to come back home early. He disrespected his own mother and hangs up the phone. When he reaches home, he sees his mother and she asks him again why he's been gone for days. He cusses at his own mother, yells at her, disrespects her, and goes to his room. He turns on his shower. He locks his toilet door. Midway through his shower, his lights turn off. He starts yelling, thinking someone is playing games with him. In pitch darkness, inside the shower, he feels a grip on his neck. He gets pushed towards the wall, not able to move at all, and he gets whipped on his back multiple times. He tried to yell, he tried to scream, he tried to move, nothing. Hit after hit. He hears an old man's voice telling him, "How dare you do this to your mother? Smack. I will take your life if you do this again." Lash after lash. For 2 whole minutes. He unlocks the door, runs for his life, with no clothes on, from how feared he was. He begs his mother for forgiveness. The family immediately calls the ambulance. Adel was severely injured, and he was bleeding everywhere. I have the real image of his wounds, but TikTok will not allow me to show this graphic content. The police were involved. Detectives were involved. Psychiatrists were also involved. The government was accusing the family of domestic violence. The police searched the whole house. He swore to them that it was not his family. This case took many years to dissolve, but only the mother knows what this thing was. They were jinns that protected her, and they wanted to teach Adel a lesson.
This woman and her husband, and I will put the names because I'm sure I will mispronounce them, smuggled in a little girl from Pakistan to the UK. She was deaf and mute. They kept the little girl in a cellar when they had a 5-bedroom house. The cellar was cold and damp, and the little girl was also raped by the husband, and she was also made to cook and clean for the husband and the wife, and they were collecting money in the little girl's name. Well, this woman today is the head of a successful cake making company called Sugared Lux Ltd, and celebrities are amongst the many customers. She received 5 years for the mistreatment of the little girl, as well as benefit fraud and trafficking, and her husband received 13 years. The judge decided that wasn't enough. He later increased their time and gave her 6 and her husband 15. Their victim was given a new life, and she was taught how to sign because she didn't know how to do anything. She learned sign language, and she gave her testimony to the police against this woman and her husband. Now, fast forward to 2021, She sets up Sugared Lux Ltd, and she's listed as the sole director of the company. However, the baking and the decorating is believed to be the work of her daughter, Faiza, but she was also convicted of benefit fraud from the same little girl, and she had to serve 12 months of community service. Now, the daughter says the mother was never the face of the company. She never deals with customers, bake cakes, or decorate. It's simply that within their belief, she is an elder, and so out of respect, she let her mother be the director of the company, but her mother is now stepping down. When asked about the mother's involvement, the daughter says she don't see what that has to do with anything. Her mother isn't customer facing, and her mother's crimes didn't involve poisoning. Then she asked, is my mother not allowed to do anything else with her life and show remorse? Would you forgive somebody like that? Would you want to do business with them, or would you just find somebody else? Can a person get past something like this?
Father, Brian Cohey Sr., found something even grislier in the car's glove box and decided to confront his son.
Went back out there this morning just to continue, and I opened the glove box, and there was a knife in the glove box, underwater. The glove box is full of water. Very large knife. And then, as I go around the passenger door, I open the passenger door, and there's a wallet in between this door and I open up. That's not Brian's wallet. It's frozen solid. That's not Brian's wallet. So I take him aside, and I end up getting one of the wads of cards out, and there's a label ready. I read that, so I called label ready. And then another one, there was a social security card. I was like, hey, this is a weird call, but I've got a wallet here with so-and-so's name, and I'm hoping he works for you all, or you subbed him out or whatever. Oh, yeah, my one, we've been missing him. Yes, he didn't show up today. I'm like, oh, my God, now we've got a missing person. Okay, well, I found his wallet at Blue Hen Boat Ramp. So here's my name. Here's all my information. If you get a hold of him, tell him I've got his wallet here at my house. Okay, so I left that like that. Called Brian. Brian, what's going on? Why is there a wallet in the car? Oh, I found it down at the boat ramp when I was down there walking around. And he was so sincere. I took it all. I want to believe him because he's my son. Sure. You found out, Brian, how come, and all this going on in the last 2 days, how come you didn't tell us about the wallet? Dad, I was just so excited with all the goings on. My car getting towed. Look at this wet now. It won't start. I just didn't think about it. I didn't think it was important, Dad. I'm like, Brian, who is this one whatever guy? Mm-hmm. Dad, I swear to you, I only know one. He's my school friend. It's not him. I believe him. There's blood on the bumper. Right. And I'm like a smear of blood. And I'm like, that didn't come from that cut. And I asked him, right, you tell him the truth. I knew. I didn't want to believe it. Something was going on.
Had that gut feeling. This mom hunted down cartel members for killing her daughter.
This is Miriam Rodriguez, and she hunted down 10 cartel members for killing her daughter. On a fateful day in 2012, Karen Rodriguez, who was Miriam's daughter, was driving her truck when suddenly 2 trucks encircled her. 2 men then came at her with guns and dragged her from the car and into theirs. Later, the 2 men took her to the Rodriguez family home and tied her up. They were about to proceed with their ransom plan when a family member dropped by and witnessed the scene. At this point, the kidnappers decided to abduct both Karen and the family friend. After the kidnappings, Karen's family started receiving threats and ransom demands. Miriam and her family had no choice but to take out a loan from the bank to pay for their daughter's ransom. This was because there were so many ransoms in the city that the bank was giving out ransom loans. Miriam and her husband were then told to drop the ransom off at a local medical facility. They waited and waited, but nobody showed up. Miriam then demanded to meet with the gang members, and they agreed. The meeting took place at a local restaurant. She met with a man who tried to demand more money from her without saying where her daughter was. Miriam was then asked for an extra $2,500. The family continued to wait, but Karen never returned. Miriam knew at this point that her daughter Karen would not be returning. The heartbroken mother then vowed to find every single one of her daughter's kidnappers. The family friend who was also kidnapped was let go shortly after it happened because he offered no value. Miriam then pressed him for the physical appearance of the gang members, and he did. This was enough to confirm the man she met with, who was named Sama, was involved in her daughter's disappearance. Miriam then spent hours searching on Karen's social medias looking for any clues about her kidnapping. Miriam then came across a picture of Sama with a girl at an ice cream shop 2 hours away, so she decided to go there. She then located the store and began stalking it regularly. She then recognized the woman from the picture with Sama and studied her work hours, patiently waiting for Sama to show up. Finally, when she spotted Sama coming to the store, Miriam waited to follow the couple home and get their address. Miriam then had to get closer to these people, so she went undercover. She cut her hair and dyed it red and put on an old government uniform. She then went door to door in Sama's neighborhood doing fake surveys. She then spent some more time identifying and locating more gang members from Sama's crew. And before you know it, Miriam located a picture of Sama with a group of his fellow gang members. On September 15th, 2014, Miriam's son was closing his shop when he noticed a familiar face. It was Sama. He then immediately called his mother. Sama was then arrested and quickly gave the names of the people involved in Karen's abduction. And finally, they got word of Karen's location. The gang members said, "I'm willing to take you to the ranch where they killed and buried them." When they went to the ranch, they found Karen's scarf, her car cushion, and her femur bone, confirming her death. Miriam continued to try and find her daughter's killers, though. Miriam traced a member named Flores back to his hometown and discovered he attended church. So Miriam started attending Mass and stalking the church. Eventually, she contacted the authorities over her findings and Flores was arrested. But Miriam isn't done there. After receiving a tip, Miriam located a man selling sunglasses near the Mexican-United States border. The man immediately recognized her and began to run away, but Miriam came prepared. She ran after him and tackled him to the ground and pointed a gun at him. Miriam then detained him for about an hour until police arrived. But after hearing about what Miriam was doing, cartels began to threaten her, which made her seek help from the Mexican government, and she requested special protection. During an incident, some prisoners were able to escape the jail where her daughter's kidnappers were being held. And on May 17, 2017, Miriam was found dead outside her home. On May 10, 2017, which is Mexico's Mother's Day, Miriam was shot with 13 bullets by the same prisoners who escaped. In her quest to seek justice, Miriam became a symbol of courage and resistance against the criminal underworld. This goes to show the love a mother has for their kids. Miriam was going against a very powerful cartel, and in my opinion, beat them in more ways than they beat her. Rest in peace to Miriam, you will never be forgotten.
This father killed his son with a baseball bat and just listened to the 911 call.
On March 25, 2021, Matthew Panamarico, who is 34, called 911 from his home in Ohio to say that he had killed his 5-year-old son Jax. He said that he killed his son with the baseball bat because he was hearing voices. Now, more than 2 years later, he pleaded guilty to the crime and was sentenced to life in prison. He will be eligible for parole after spending 45 years behind bars. Now, what I'm about to show you is the 911 call Matthew made just after he murdered his son with the baseball bat. And this is a massive trigger warning.
I just killed my son.
What do you mean you just killed your son?
I'm hearing voices.
Oh, okay. How old's your son?
6.
Where's your son now?
He's dead.
Dead where?
In the living room.
All right. Do you have any weapons?
Can you just send in cops?
Yeah, we're doing that now. What's your name?
Matt Panamarico.
I'm sorry, the first name?
Matt.
Matt? Spell your last name for me, Matt.
Ponomarenko.
What's your son's name?
Jack.
Jack?
Jax, Jax.
And you said you're hearing voices?
Yes.
All right, how did you kill your son?
With a baseball bat.
You killed him with a baseball bat?
Mm-hmm.
And why did you kill him with a baseball bat?
I don't know.
Was there anyone else there with you and him?
No.
on the way, okay? I want you to stay on the phone with me. And when did you do that? Matt? When did you kill your son? Matt?
Yeah.
When did this happen?
I'm shaking.
I understand. When did this happen? Matt? When did this happen? Okay, Matt, do you have any other weapons in the home?
No.
And when did this happen? Okay. And when did this happen, Matt? Matt, you still there with me?